everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Banner Buzz, our weekly news podcast. I'm Keith Domke, managing editor of the Banner Press, and I'm just thrilled and pleased to welcome our guest this week, Brenham Tourism and Marketing Director Jennifer Eckmann. Jennifer, thank you. I know you're a busy woman, especially these days.
Oh, well, I'm happy to be here and to talk about this project.
Well, appreciate you taking the time, and I'm really looking forward to our visit. This is going to be really a good one. We got a little exciting things to talk about here this morning.
We do.
So, but before we get into that, the Smithsonian coming to Washington County. Let's get a little bit of info about yourself. When we do these podcasts, we kind of try and mix a little bit of personal background with topics at hand.
Okay.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
All right. Well, I grew up in Brenham. My family moved here when I was 3, when my dad became the administrator of the Brenham Clinic. So I grew up here. I died, at 3. I don't know anything else. So I feel like I grew up here totally. And I went to Brenham High School, went to Blinn, and ended up going to UT Austin.
Okay.
And I can remember, it's so weird how I vividly remember driving up Main Street to head to Austin and thinking, I am never going back to that town. Just a thing for that age group. I guess people at that age, it's like getting out of the small town. But one Christmas, I came back and ended up meeting my future husband, and I thought I am going back to that town. So I ended up with an internship for one of my classes, and I worked at Bluebell for that.
Okay.
And so that was really I ended up just moving into my first job there at Bluebell, and did PR and advertising for about 10 years, and stayed home. And then got a call about the new Main Street position at the city. Okay. And so I ended up, that was another, commitment of 3 years, and it just seemed like a long time. And I ended up doing that for a little over 20 years. So, and then ended up in tourism, ended up with tourism in the city, and just have loved everything that I've done. And been married to that same man I came back to Brenham for 41 years.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Brenham's it. Brenham's your place.
Brenham is my place.
Good.
I've been here long. My daughter grew up here, and just love the community.
Good. Well, it is a good community. We both know that.
Yes.
Both know that.
Yes.
So, as the director of tourism and marketing, what all do you do, and what all are you responsible for?
Okay, so kind of have 3 main areas of responsibility.
Okay.
I oversee the management of the Visit Brenham Washington County Destination Marketing Organization, or DMO. And we are responsible for marketing Brenham and all of the county for visitors.
Okay.
We have more than 300 tourism partners that are a part of that, who are impacted by tourism. I also am overseeing the transition of the Barnhill Center from a nonprofit to the city. So that's part of what we do too. We manage and operate the Barnhill Center. Both of those things, tourism and the Barnhill, are funded by hotel occupancy tax dollars, with the Barnhill also having ticket sales and rentals. So both of those things are dependent on people coming here and staying in hotels. And I also currently serve as Historic Preservation Officer for the city.
Okay.
So we deal with the Historic Preservation Ordinance and a board that oversees projects happening in our downtown historic overlay district.
Okay. So you remain busy.
Very busy, yes.
But a good busy.
But good busy.
Yeah,
I love what I do.
But you have a team of folks who assist you, correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
There's a great team. So we have 4 full-time employees that are a part of Visit Brenham and the Barn Hill. And this is in addition to me, 4 full-time. And then because we keep the visitor center open 7 days a week, we have 6 part-time employees also. And then as part of the Visit Brenham team, we also have 2 consultant or contract members of the team who deal with social media and advertising design. So we have a great team and just work so well together. Everybody's so committed and loves tourism.
Sure. Well,
to be a part of it.
I'm sorry. I remember the Saturday I came here to interview for this job here at the paper. Before I went to the interview, before anything else, I stopped at the visitor center to check out. Yeah,
how was your experience?
It was great. I don't remember the name of the woman who helped me, but she was very helpful.
Good.
She pointed me out to some of the literature she thought I might need, and so. But it was a great welcome.
Well, that's great.
That's great to
hear. Thank you for saying that.
So maybe it's her fault that I'm here.
That you're here. Oh, now we know who to blame. Oh, that's great. I love that.
So, okay. Let's settle in and talk about what's ahead next month and into January. The Smithsonian Institute, like we said, is coming to Washington County. And you and I know, and a lot of folks know, this is a big deal for us. But before we get into the specifics of the exhibit, give me your thoughts about why having an exhibit from such a prestigious place like the Smithsonian, no matter what it is. I mean, just the Smithsonian coming to Washington County is such a cool thing and a big deal.
It is. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who will never get the opportunity to visit one of the Smithsonian museums. And so to bring something of that caliber, that quality to a smaller community, it's really what this traveling exhibit program of the Smithsonian is all about. It has been to a lot of different states, and this is the first time a tour like this has been arranged in Texas. So it's great to be a part of that and let the community experience not only that kind of quality exhibit, but what it brings then to the community, because for us that's an important part of having them here is the long-term impact of all the things that are being planned as part of that. So we're excited that so many people have been excited about being a part of it and participating in some way. So that has been fun through the process.
So then Brenham was selected as one of 7 communities in Texas to host this exhibit. It's called Crossroads, Changing Rural America. So can you tell us a little bit about the process to get it here? I know it was kind of an involved process. I mean, you just didn't pick up the phone and call, but so there's a process. And I believe we were one of about 53 communities that requested the exhibit, and then we were one of 7 who were chosen. So can you kind of tell me about that process?
Sure. So the Smithsonian in most states, in Texas, it was like I mentioned, the first time that they brought this traveling exhibit program called MOMS, our Museum on Main Street. They brought that to Texas. But in most states, they have the Smithsonian works with humanities councils, state humanities councils. But in Texas, I'm not exactly sure why, but the Texas Historical Commission is large and able to handle something like this. And so they have a group called Heritage Tourism.
Okay.
That has a team that was responsible for setting it up in the state and working with the Smithsonian and then actually putting the application process together. So they made the communities aware. They're in charge too of the trail regions. There are 10 travel trail regions, and Brenham, Washington County are part of the Independence Trail.
Okay.
And so they were planning on choosing 6 communities, one from each of 6 of the 10 trail regions. And with the number of applicants that the state had, which is more than any other state has ever had, of course. That's Texas for you. with that, they decided to do 7 host communities instead of the original 6. So there were 7 trail regions who each had a representative community.
Okay.
And we were chosen for the Independence Trail region, which, goes all the way from Galveston to San Antonio. I think there are like 43 counties in our region.
Wow, okay.
But the process, it's been about a year and a half. I first learned about it early at a conference in 23, and came back and was talking to some people about, because we were encouraged to apply, and I wanted to figure out why would we do this, and so really coming up with a reason to do it was the important part. So I think with our application, we knew there were things we wanted to accomplish, and so we went for it and partnered with the Brenham Heritage Museum and the Texas 10 Historical Explorers to help us accomplish the main goals that we wanted to accomplish with it.
Cool.
And then there's a whole process of training and planning. You even go to the first community to host it in your state to learn how to install that Smithsonian exhibit.
Oh, okay. You didn't even think about that.
It is quite an experience. I mean, there are huge crates and small crates, and the way it works is the Smithsonian will ship the exhibit to the first town.
Okay.
And for Texas, that's San Augustine.
Okay.
That started in August, and all the host communities come to learn how to put the whole exhibit together. And then what happens after that is the next community is responsible for going and picking it up once one community strikes it. So it went from San Augustine. It's now in Clifton.
Right.
The exhibit closes in Clifton on December 1st, and they'll strike the exhibit on the 2nd. Brenham will go pick it up on the 3rd, and we'll install on the 4th, so it's ready to open. And so the process of getting the Smithsonian here and that part is one part of it. And then it's the planning for what else are you going to do while it's here.
Sure.
So it's been quite the process, but a lot of fun to kind of develop those relationships and figure out how more people can be impacted by it here.
Well, good luck with everything.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's definitely coming together.
Yeah.
Coming together.
So the exhibit, if I'm not mistaken, it examines change in rural America through the 1900s as people left their country roots to move into the cities and all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
So, kind of in a nutshell, kind of give us an overview of what the exhibit's going to entail.
Okay. So they break up the story about the change in rural America into 5 themes. And so there's an intro exhibit, and then there are 5 additional displays, all very different, and they have audio, video, and artifacts and different things. So they're all very different, but each one there's a theme. One is identity, one is land, community, resilience, and managing change. And so those are themes that we can that kind of resonate with us, and I think that's the whole thing, is to get you thinking about your community and how it did, how did it handle those changes through the 1900s. And of course, I think through that time period, a lot of communities died, but many thrived.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I think it's fun for us in Brenham to look at is how did we do it? How did we manage? And going through, one day it just hit me. I remembered this old picture that someone had given to me. And it's a photo, I think, I haven't dated it exactly, but early 60s, and you see an old truck sitting at on the right side of a road, and then the road kind of moves and goes uphill, but you see some road work happening. Okay. And what it ends up being, it's so hard to just say it and not to actually see it. But what that is a picture when they first started putting the 290 loop in, where 290 and 36 meet.
Okay.
And that truck is sitting. It's just, you see one building in the background, but that truck is sitting where Walmart is now.
Oh, okay.
And so it's empty land all around there. But when you think about what has happened and how Brenham has grown and people have cared about it and taken care of it over the years, it kind of brings it all home, just very visually, in a way that's like, Brenham did good, and we did well through that, and had people who planned and looked to the future. So it's really, it's a fun topic and a good one for us to kind of start some conversations. And that's one of the things that we'll be able to do with the exhibit too, is we'll have some questions mounted on the walls around in hopes that it'll get people to start thinking, what do I like about living here?
Sure.
In a more rural community. So there'll be opportunities like that to get people thinking about it. And that's part of what hosting the Smithsonian's about, is to get people thinking. So
then there's for lack of a better way to say it, there's kind of the standard exhibit that's traveling, but then we get to personalize it, right? Is that the right way to say it, or
kind of?
Okay.
So the exhibit itself stays the same. It's the same exhibit as it travels from community to community, and it's more a general change in rural America with those themes to get you thinking about it. But part of hosting is you have to agree to do a local exhit that ties in with those themes.
Okay.
And so that's where you localize the idea that the Smithsonian exhibit brings up. So there are, we actually have 3 different local exhibits that all go back to those themes of identity and community and managing change and resilience. I can get goosebumps just thinking about how we've managed to do that and tell that story in a very local way. So that's how it's localized, is through those local exhibits that you commit to.
And those are, that's the Century of the Simon, correct?
Yes. And the Freedom Colonies exhibits.
And then Camptown, right?
And Camptown, exactly. Yeah. So I think A Century of Simon, it's an interesting story because Simon is turning 100 years old in 25.
Yep.
And that was one of the questions they actually asked in the application, is do you have any special anniversaries coming? And for us, since that building is our home, the visitor center, and we're responsible for it, just kind of made sense. But I'm thinking of it through the eye of a Main Street manager in downtown, and the ups and downs of our downtown through those 100 years all goes back to those themes. I mean, if downtown was doing well and the community was doing well, then the Simon was doing well. And when downtown was going through our community was going through tough times, so was the Simon.
Sure.
So it's kind of a representation of the community through those years. So that made sense.
Yeah.
And then with the other 2 local exhibits, one about Washington County Freedom Colonies, and then about one specific Freedom Colony, Camptown, that was, we'd done a neat job of capturing the story of the burning of Brenham in 1866. And it was an interesting story, very Wild West kind of things going on during that turbulent time, but it was just part of our story. And we've realized and wanted to accomplish telling the rest of the story. And I think that those exhibits do that by talking about what more than 50% of our population was going through during that same period, where all of a sudden they became free and had to learn to live as freedmen.
Yeah, sure.
They weren't they hadn't been educated. Had just had to learn the language on their own, and they now had to figure out, how do we survive? And coming together and developing communities was how that happened. And so it's a really neat story that ties right into that story of that time period of the burning of Brenham. So again, community, identity, resilience, managing change. All of it just goes back to those themes. And so it's why it's really that Crossroads exhibit is so perfect for us.
It sounds just, I can't wait.
Yeah,
this sounds really, really cool. So, but there's other things going on during the 6-week period. Can you kind of just briefly touch on some of those?
I will. There's, for us, we all had full-time jobs already and plenty to keep us busy. So for us, it was like, why do we want to take this on? Why is it worth the time and effort to do this? Money, everything. Why is it worth doing it? And for us, it was about the impact that it can have on our community, and impact tourism and all of our partners. And so a big part of all of the planning over this last year and a half has been, how can we pull the community in? It helps, of course, that it's Smithsonian and people want to be a part of that. It's kind of like you just mentioned, hey, we're partnering with the Smithsonian. And people are like, yes, how can we do, how can we participate in that? So it almost, for the first part of those months, it was for us very much planning how can our community benefit from this hosting, and it was trying to pull together different partners. And so we have different projects and programs that have come together. One of the first things we partnered with the Washington County Historical Commission to do a new markers guide. And so we developed that and made it very visitor friendly, and it's something that we can have long-term impact.
Sure.
And we highlight each community, each of our what we call partner communities, Burton, Chapel Hill, Independence, Washington, and Brenham. We were able to highlight each of those communities and tell their history and other historic markers. These are, in the markers guide, they're all state markers. And so each community has other important historical markers, and so we've added those in there. So we were happy about that. And then in working with the community partners within those communities in the county, we tried to find something that we could use to draw the people we know will be coming to see the Smithsonian. We wanted to develop something they could all get behind, that we could encourage people to go out and learn more about our history, because it's a fascinating history in each community.
Sure, it's great.
So luckily, I say luckily, but man, sometimes it's, thank you, Lord, because we did end up finding something, and it was really somebody had heard about in Camptown. Part of that, the Camptown exhibit, is the Soundwalk experience, where there are 7 sites in Camptown, and each panel has a QR code that you scan to hear, and it's an enhanced audio tour that has sounds of the time period and different things, so it's more experiential. And that's what the communities ended up being interested in, is we want a sound walk. And so we developed walking tour brochures with Soundwalk. And so that is pulling all of our communities together in a program that will live on past January 19th when the Smithsonian closes. Yeah. And then we just have, a lot of Christmas and holiday events that are going to be going on. It's
kind of a fun time to have the exhibit.
It is. It's the good and bad, because it's also the holidays.
Right.
And
that's true.
So we chose to take the good and kind of focus on that. But we have not only those holiday things that'll be happening that will have a little more attention than normal, but we've also partnered with BISD. They early on got involved and wanted to participate in some way, find ways for their students to participate. And so they developed a way for students to participate in 3 different things, either an interview project, an essay contest, or a poster contest. And so we're excited about that. Those were all due, and they're organizing that. They were all due, I think, on November 13th. What we're doing and what we've offered to do is some incentives, some prize incentives, but also we'll be displaying some of that artwork at the visitor center so that people can see it when they come in, and also at the Brenham Heritage Museum. So we're working with those details details, but we're happy to be partnering with BISD,
Sure.
Who was interested in getting their kids involved with the Smithsonian type project.
Sure.
The Brenham Heritage Museum has a speaker series to a month. We have a Sam Houston reenactment called an Afternoon with Sam Houston. We're partnering with the Washington County Historical Commission again, and Blinn. They have 2 students at Blinn who are going to be reenacting a speech that Sam Houston gave at the courthouse, and we'll be showing some movie clips about that time in Sam Houston's life. So that'll be a fun event on January 11th, and it'll be at the Barnhill. And then we also are hosting working with Texas Archive of the Moving Image, or TAMI, to do a film roundup where they come into a community and you can bring any kind of old home movies or videotapes or anything, and they'll take those, digitize them on a thumb drive for you, and then send them back to you.
Oh.
So it's just an opportunity. The only cost is if you can afford it to just pay for one of the thumb drives. But anybody can come and do that. It's just a neat thing that organization offers. Really cool. And they're going to even offer. They've already collected a lot of old videos and stuff from Brenham and Washington County, and so they're putting all of that together, and we'll do a screening of that the night before for anybody who'd like to just come see what they've collected.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun thing, and that'll be on the screening on January 17th and the film roundup on January 18th there at the Barnhill Center.
Neat.
And then, we have our official ribbon cuttings on December 7th when the whole thing is open to the public. We'll be doing a ribbon cutting at Camptown at 9, at Bell's Alley at 9:30, and the Smithsonian and Simon exhibits at 10. And then that'll be the official opening of the Smithsonian in Brenham and Washington County.
So outstanding. And unfortunately, we got to kind of start to wrap things up here. Okay. So you've been great, and I thank you for being here. But just pulling it all together, just final thoughts. Just briefly, if you can sum everything up.
For me, when I think about it, it just goes back to we wanted to do something that would live on. I mean, the Smithsonian's here December 7th through January 19th, and then we'll strike it the next day, and Rockport will come pick it up from us, and we'll be smiling big and waving as it rolls down the road. But for us, what makes it worth it, the time and the effort, and is the long-term impact on our community and what it'll mean. We're really excited about that. And you mentioned the challenges. I mean, yes, and one of the things that we're really spending a lot of time on now too is group tours and bringing groups to come see it, because we started in September getting calls about that, and so we're working on that and trying to get. We have I think 22 groups scheduled already, and it's school groups to church groups and whatever coming through. So that'll be fun too.
Sure.
But long-term impact is the big thing for us.
And there will be, sure. So, and of course, Jennifer has also been writing a series of columns that have appeared in the Banner Press, and I think you have 2 more to go, I think, in December. So we look forward to that. And I just thank you for being here today. This has been a wonderful visit, and just another way to get the word out about what all's coming and how it's going to take place and everything. And I know I personally thank you, and I know the community thanks you for all the hard work you and your team have done, all the players involved. I mean, I know it's a big team group effort that we can't even begin to touch on how many people have had a hand in this, but it's just, I know it's just an unbelievable amount of people who have all, worked to pull this together. And
it's been very exciting to be a part of it and see everybody coming together.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, I just can't wait to see how this is going to develop, even for how the newspaper is going to cover all this and all that.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah,
Yes.
so and I'm sure we'll work on that a little bit together
Okay.
as
All
we
right,
get
sounds
stuff.
good.
So
Thank you, Keith, for having me.
yeah, and again, you've been watching the Banner Buzz podcast. I'm Keith Domke, the managing editor of the paper, and again, another thank you to Jennifer Eckerman, the tourism and marketing director for the city, who wears many hats, as we found out here, and including a special one here. So again, thank you. And before we go, I just want to say, if you're a subscriber of the Banner Press, we thank you for being a part of our family. We're here for you, and we're the messenger of the community and the watchdog of the community, and we're so thrilled if you're a subscriber, and thank you. If you're not, it's easy to do. Just pick up the phone and call us at 979-836-7956. Again, that's 979-836-7956, and we'll be happy to take care of you. Again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you again, Jennifer, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.